This is about a 10-minute video of some of the build process. I will be attaching the skull, which I've already finished sculpting, to this skeleton, which is just about finished. Some people have asked me to upload long-form content showing a little bit more detail about how I sculpt these. The total build time on a piece like this, I've never really timed it exactly, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 hours on a torch. So I think it's a little unrealistic to upload or even just film the entire process. But here's a little clip for those who have the patience to watch this process without the quick edits. Adding a couple more of these bone pieces up here towards the clavicle. I don't know anything about anatomy. And this color is called multi. It's made by North Star Glass, and it's a really nice color. It strikes out in the kiln to really beautiful silvery dark blues and greens. I've never sculpted a skeleton with this before, and I found that it's a little bit shocky compared to some of the other colors I like to sculpt with. Sort of a stiffer glass, and I was having some issues with cracking along the way, which is really fine. With borosilicate you can go back and fix just about anything, especially if it's not a hollow piece. With these skeletons it's all just solid sculpting, so a couple cracks here and there, pretty easy to go back and tidy up at the end. And I build these whole things outside of the kiln, so nothing gets annealed until the end, until I start doing the final touches. And then usually I'll get the head on there, run it through a cycle, and then get it mounted to the base and pose the feet on that wood base, and then run it through another cycle. So you can see I'm getting the glass super hot. I work as hot as I can in the flame, making sure everything's melted together. That's one good tip if you're working, especially without garaging pieces in the kiln. If you can make sure that all of your welds are 100% totally melted in together, the glass is going to be a lot happier. You're not going to have nearly as many problems with cracks. A lot of the time I find that if I do have a crack, I can look back and see one little spot where I rushed it. I get 90% of the weld, but it's not 100%, and then if the flame splashes over there, or even if it doesn't, you can have some cracks. And this is how I shape, the ribs and stuff, whatever you call these little bits here. I get the glob of glass on there, I pull it out, very free form, loose, freestyle, and then using the temperature of the glass, you can get a nice point on there. If you get a heat gradient from one part of the glass to the tip, you get the tip a little hotter, pull it out, it'll come to a nice sharp. And now I'm just positioning the skull on there. Everything's cold here. Just the parts that I'm working are going to be hot, so I can grab this piece wherever. I stick that head on there. That's not a complete weld yet. I'm just trying to get the positioning right. And then I'm going to go in and bridge with some clear from the shoulder bone area to the jaw. And that's basically, this bridge is so that the weight of that skull, it's not going thick to thin. So you have a big bulky skeleton and then a thin connection just on that one rod to the skull. You have two heavy pieces on either side of that. That's going to be the weakest point in the whole piece. So you really want to bridge as much as possible. Just what I try to do is use the bones themselves and try to avoid too much clear, but a little bit really. It doesn't distract from the piece, I find, and it's just so necessary to make that a strong connection there. You don't want this thing falling apart. So I just throw a little bit of clear rod in here. I'm pretty sure I messed this up soon, or I don't quite tack the end of that clear to the jaw. So this could be a couple minutes. Feel free to skip ahead like 2 minutes while I make a mistake and then try to fix it. And that's a lot of the process with making a piece, especially as I'm sort of building larger pieces. And there's a lot of problem solving, you know, a lot of like doing it one way, getting to the end, realizing that I could have saved time and could have done it better another way. And that's the learning process. There we go, adjusting that torch. That's the, I think it's called the GTT Yellow Jacket. And it's a really, really helpful hand torch for the kind of sculpting I do. It's like crazy hot, super penetrating heat. If you crank that thing, it is very powerful. Always gets the job done. What my mistake here is that I didn't make a connection between the clear glass and the bottom of the jawbone there. So now I'm just going to go try to pull it in with the tweezers, messed it up, oy vey. You know, just all part of the process. That's not an advisable move. I don't have a stand for my hand torch, so I think I just kind of set it down on my bench. Because at this point, who knows how long I've been working on this piece. I'm tired. I'm out of coffee. I don't feel like re-firing up that hand torch. So, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Don't burn your studio down. And then, yeah, I'm just pulling that clear to make the connection there. There it is. And now, basically, I think this finishes the piece. That's the last move, and then I'm just gonna go in. I'll go back over the that initial connection, but where the skull meets the spine. I'll go over that once the clear bridge cools down. Then that can hold it in place. Then I'll go back in, clean up that other weld, and then the piece will be finished. Like I said, these are about 12 hours, I would say, on a piece like this. I'd like to get that time down, but a lot of it is just making sure that every little bit is meticulously done. And then, again, like I said, I make a lot of mistakes as I go. I'm trying to figure out the best way. I'm sort of taking a different approach every time. I haven't made too many of these skeletons, so every time is kind of still a learning process. I'm just trying to make them as good as possible. Again, you want to go over your welds. If you think, like, you know, if you're a glass blower and you think that you are making good welds, and that's good. Just, you know, I don't know, just be sure. I don't have too much to say here at this point. There goes the hand torch. Just cut my hair like that day, or maybe the day before. It was getting a little out of control. Last little bit of melting here, you gotta make that weld, fuse that baby. I like to spin my tweezers because I am sitting in the chair for 12 hours. You get bored, you spin some stuff. You know, you just gotta be patient. That's the thing with glass. If you're watching this video in the long format, you are patient. Maybe you could be one of these too. There it is, really getting good welds. I mean, that's the name of the game. You want this thing to be one completely solid, continuous structure of glass. And the only way to make the glass happy is with the temperature. Make sure that you get those welds good, and make sure that you are creating smooth temperature differentials throughout the piece. And that's how you can get away with sculpting stuff outside of the kiln. Oh, and then, yeah, I gotta add a couple globs up here and sculpt them into vertebra. That would be the final move of this piece. I'd say this is my favorite T-Rex that I've done so far. I really took my time with the whole thing, and also sculpting the skull You know, I've made a decent amount of the skulls, but this time had some different ideas. I really was studying the form and trying to get it a little more accurate, as best as possible to the real shape of those skulls. There you have it. So there is a T-Rex skeleton sculpted out of glass rods. It's a cool shape for the glass to be. And, I'm proud of this one. This here I'm just inspecting. I'll probably cut this video off soon. I'm just inspecting it for any cracks. The whole time when you're holding the piece, you can feel if there's a crack, but if you set it down, a lot of the time you can get a sneaky crack. And I'm listening to podcasts or music most of the time, so I'm just double checking, triple checking, give it a close look, and then I'll pop it in the kiln. With a piece like this, I bring it up to 1050. If I were going to garage it, I'd garage at 1050, and then strike it around 1077. You can do whatever you want. Anyways, there it is. Very happy with that. Yeah, especially the skull on this one. I really think it's my best one yet. And here it is in the sunlight. One of the hardest parts actually is to make that attachment to the wood base, which I think a woodworker might have an easier time with that, but I'm getting better. I'm working on it all the time. And I had to put the plaque a little bit to the side because of the position of the foot on this piece, but that doesn't bother me too much. I think it looks fine. And yeah, the colors came out really nicely, and I posed it so it's kind of taking a step, or at least I tried to make it kind of going for that. And yeah, there you have it.